All right, Bleav in Bama, back for another episode, and I'm joined by two DJ Flukers, it appears, because we have the background, we have the Alabama DJ Fluker, we have the current DJ Fluker, ready to talk some LSU Alabama football. We can just jump right into that game since both Alabama and LSU had byes this past week. They both had some time to rest up. They both had some time to do a little self-reflection before getting back to the practice field for one of the biggest rivalries between these two schools in the SEC as a whole. DJ, just especially coming off the bye week, we talked a little bit about it last week, but for both of these teams and for all of these guys, how important was that for them? You know, now that they're gearing up for a night game in Death Valley in an incredible rivalry matchup, just how important was that week to just kind of not get beat up on a football field?
I mean, I wouldn't say not get beat up on. I mean, I'm pretty sure they had a little light practice, but I think it was very important for them to actually recover, get some guys back to practice. I think it gave them a little time to come with a better, probably a actually better scheme. And I mean, when you give an Alabama team more time to scheme for a team, they're gonna execute it very well and in practice. And I think and I think it gave them more attention to detail. I mean, I've been kind of watching them a little bit of practice um, when they were practice before they had to go to a little bye week because usually you practice a little bit and you go hang out for a little bit. But they look pretty solid. They look pretty solid. I think it's gonna be great to get some guys back who were hurt. I think that's gonna help the team a tremendous amount. I also think that maybe the offensive coordinator gonna have a great game plan for those guys going into this week. So I honestly I see it. It's gonna be a good solid game. I truly believe that.
This Bama
Uh,
LSU rivalry, one that you are very familiar with, of course, every Alabama fan is, especially when you were in school. You know, you had the game of the century that everyone referred to, that Bama LSU game where LSU came out on top. You guys get your revenge in the national championship, but those are just two games in this rivalry. You know, there's been some crazy atmosphere, some crazy games. LSU getting their most recent win over Alabama in that battle with Joe Burrow in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And that has been the last time that LSU has managed to come out on top. So, of course, the past few years, Alabama has really rolled in this rivalry. But just as someone who's played in this game, who's been around all of these fans and been around this atmosphere, as a player, I mean, how does the LSU, game, how does that stack up to the guys that are going to suit up on Saturday? I know, when you play at Bama, every game is the most important game and all of that kind of stuff, and you can't read too much into the rivalries and all of that outside noise and everything. But when these guys get ready for this LSU game, I mean, how much are they fired up for this particular rivalry?
I actually believe that. I mean, I remember when I was getting ready for the game. I think it was probably really a big game for us. I think that it was trying to prove a statement and let the tone be set early during the week of practice, going off our game plan, make sure we knew everything we were doing, and then going to the game was even easier because I mean, I'm going to tell you like that playing at Death Valley is a hard place to play. It's probably the most electrifying stadiums that you're gonna play at. Those fans are crazy. Their fans crazy. Our fans are crazy. They ready to get down to it. They're ready to go see out there. And it's like being a gladiator.
Mhm.
And that's how it is on that Saturday night, especially when that sun sets at seven
Oh,
o'clock. At 7 p.m. People go crazy.
they announced that kickoff at 6, and I was like, oh no. It's like, oh no, here we go. The
it gets
night game
real.
in Death Valley. Here we go.
It is really electrifying. You can hear the fans that yelling and screaming. You can also see you can also see like the kids are getting into it. So the rivalry is really serious. So it's like you have to go out there and play your all. Make sure your assignments on point. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, and because you don't want to mess up. You guys are going to like be on it's like playing at another level when you play at LSU. You have to bring your A game every single play. I think they're gonna have it's gonna be a good challenging ball game. That's the way I see it. I mean, that's how it always is. They all bring their best. They're playing the hardest out, the hardest. They're playing the hearts out. Guys are getting excited on the sideline. They're not even on the field yet. So you gotta understand, like this game is gonna be crazy. It's like playing a Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl. That's what it's like. Have I ever played in one? No. But
You're like,
I'm
just to
telling you,
preface.
it's a practice boy, you know what I mean? But I Bleav that it's gonna be an electrifying game. I think that those kids they're gonna be after play. But the thing about it, I know how Coach Saban goes back. You have to be poised. Don't be caught up into the hype of the fans, the trash talking what the other players do on the media, tweeting about it. You know, those type of things. You can't get caught into the hype. If you get caught into the hype, then you're not gonna have a greater game as you should. And I've learned that from experience. I never got caught in into that. Thankfully, I had a great group of media team to tell you don't get caught into that type of environment because you will have a bad game. But the thing about it is you got to go out there and execute, have fun. That's what this game is about. We're going out at LSU at 6 p.m. and the sun is gonna set and the tone will be set at the same time. So hey, why not? Why not us? Why not us gonna win? That's how I see it. I don't know how
Literally.
you feel. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish up.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. I got a little excited. I
You're
got
fired
to do
up.
this. It's like
You're ready to go. I know.
Shoot,
I'm like,
okay,
we gotta get you another year of eligibility. We gotta get you on the sidelines on Saturday. You're ready to go. You're ready to play, man.
Oh,
I love it.
hey, I can't wait to see it. Honestly,
It's gonna be a good game. I'm sure that, I'm typing up kind of the description for the show, and it's, Nick Saban versus Brian Kelly, which is a whole other, level to this that we haven't seen in this rivalry in previous years. But Nick Saban, Brian Kelly, night game at Death Valley, a top, depending on which rankings you care about, a top 10 or 15 battle, which typically this game is. It's very rare that we go into the Bama LSU game without these teams being ranked and there being some significance on the line in this game. So, the first college football playoff rankings coming out earlier this week, Alabama checking in at number 6. LSU getting that number 10 spot, and then LSU's number 15 in the AP. But I say from now on, like now the college football playoff rankings are out, that's what people care about. Because, in the end of the day, if the AP says they're 15, but the playoff says they're, number 4, then they could play for a national championship. So we're looking at it, it's a top 10 battle, night game in Death Valley. It's just going to be, I don't even know what. I have yet to go to Baton Rouge. So I haven't even been in the city of Baton Rouge, let alone in Tiger Stadium. But the things that I have heard, the things I have been told, I mean, you can tell just the way you're talking about it. Like this game, whether it's played in Bryant-Denny, Mercedes-Benz, wherever, or Death Valley, you can tell that it means something, but everyone knows about that atmosphere that they've got going on at LSU, which is just one of the incredible atmospheres that we see throughout college football. But that, when you come to Bama, I'm sure you've got some of the older guys, saying, yeah, this is how that stadium is. This is how that stadium is. And LSU is always one of those ones that is like, well, you got some crazy Cajuns that have been drinking since like 9 o'clock in the morning. So it is rowdy to say the least. So I think just the atmosphere alone, it's built up to be, you know, one of those games, with all of the stuff that we've got going into it, playoff rankings, and just the time. It's so crazy to me that just the time of a game can like add so much to something. Like, I mean, I think Tiger Stadium is like crazy, like probably every time of the year, because again, you got the crazy Cajuns down there. You got them going nuts. But like, I think like they had the Tennessee game, I think at like 11 a.m. and they still were like, oh, it's gonna be nuts, it's gonna be crazy. Like they made a mistake making this game 11 a.m. But like that 6 p.m. kick, that's gonna hit a little bit different, I think. You like close the eyes. You're like, oh yeah. You're like deep breaths.
I'm telling you, you can't even hear yourself think on that sideline because the fans are cheering so loud that they probably had a little too much to drink before the game. And I remember, I actually, it's crazy because I actually remember being recruited at LSU. I when I was like in my younger days, recruited, and I went to a game to see them play. I thought about going to LSU because that's where I'm from, Louisiana. I went to a game. Those fans were throwing alcohol bottles. Like they had beat Florida, I Bleav. That game was many years ago. But I watched that game. I was like, wow, I've never seen alcohol come from the stands. They were throwing beers. They were throwing their beer cups, going crazy. I was just like, wow. He said, hey, get your umbrella. Have my umbrella. All I see is beer can cups flying down from the stands.
Oh my gosh.
Nah, I don't think they can do that anymore. But I mean, they used to do it.
You never know.
You know, you just don't know these days. A lot of people have got smarter now, so they do things a little bit different. But I remember that it was crazy because at the time Glenn Dorsey was at LSU at that time. He was back in the day. But I will tell you, seeing it as a high school recruit, and you going to make him play in this game, totally different.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're trash. The fans trash talk you. That's how bad it is.
I am sure. I'm confident of that. I have some positive experiences with LSU fans. I also have negative experiences with LSU fans. So I don't doubt you one bit when you say that the fans come talking their trash. Like that does not shock me in the slightest.
Oh God, it gets worse. They're talking about you, your mama, everyone else.
Everyone else. And like the one thing I think I've noticed the most about LSU fans and the fan base is, I mean, when they start them young, like I've got like 10-year-olds that are like yelling at my friends or whatever, and we're like, what is happening? We're not getting trash talked by like a fraternity guy or some like grown adult. No, I've got like a 12-year-old like cussing out one of my friends, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Like, y'all are nuts.
It's the only time they get to do it because their parents allow it.
Yeah, right. It's like
it's LSU versus Bama.
Sunday through Friday, absolutely not. Saturdays, however, when the LSU football team is playing, go for it.
Of course. They're like, we all in for it. Don't worry. You go right ahead.
Gosh. Absolutely nuts, I think, is the only way to describe what Alabama is gearing up for, at least atmosphere-wise, this Saturday. And to your point you made earlier, you know, Saban is always one to say, don't let the outside noise distract you. Don't let this and that impact the way that you play. You know, I ran a soundbite from him in my show, whatever day this week. I think maybe it was yesterday. I'm losing track of the days. And he's talking about the atmosphere of LSU. And of course, it's one that he is so familiar with, obviously being the head coach at LSU before he came to Alabama. So he's very familiar with Tiger Stadium and how crazy it can be and everything. So, you know, he's talking about it's an incredible tradition. They've got a lot of great stuff going on there, but we can't let that distract us from what we need to do going into the game. You know, we still take it play by play. We still need to just focus on ourselves and do what we can do. Very typical Saban talk, as we're all very familiar with. Just the very typical don't control what you can control from Nick Saban. And the poise that you were referencing, you know, that these guys have to have when they step foot on the field. I think you've got the best leader for that in Bryce Young. You know, he could go into the loudest stadium, or, you know, he could get sacked right before and come right back up the next play and look like nothing has happened to him, like very stoic, calm, cool, and collected. And they're going to need that come Saturday. You know, we saw him have that type of a performance in Knoxville against Tennessee. That was an incredibly electric atmosphere, a really rowdy crowd and loud crowd. And we saw him still have that poise and that composure that we're used to seeing from him. And that's going to be super important for all of these guys, but especially the guys on the offensive line, his receivers, the guys on his side of the ball, when it comes to making those plays come Saturday. Because you're saying, you know, you can't even hear yourself think. So let alone you're not hearing a snap, you're not hearing nothing. Like you're not hearing nothing. So you've got to have a game plan for sure going into that. Because if you can't hear yourself think, you're not going to hear a word Bryce is saying for the most part, unless he is this close to your ear and he is screaming at you for the most part.
Right. Yeah, you definitely in that hold on. You really got to be paying attention. I know that sometimes it's a little bit hard, but you know, but you really got in that hold on. You got to be nipped up like shoulder to shoulder, listening to the plays. That's what I have just witnessed. Being in that environment, you have to know the snap count, know when to come out the ball, and plus on the inside, like as far as the offensive line, they have to be able to communicate through all that noise. Either that's hand signals or trying to scream the call to the guys. You know, from the center to the guard to the tackles, and tackles to tight ends. You know, they have to be able to communicate. That's going to be the biggest. I think that'd be a big issue, communicating. It always happens. The communication sometimes be off, sometimes it's on.
I think, especially, you know, obviously Alabama has had a little bit of some struggles on the road this season. A lot of that having to do with, you know, the ruckus environments that they're going into. And we've talked about this before because, you know, whether it's a big rivalry game or not, everyone wants to beat Bama. You're always going to get Alabama's best game. So, you know, when they go into Texas, people are going crazy because they haven't seen that matchup in a while. It's two really storied programs and they want to beat Bama. Same, you know, with Tennessee, LSU, and all of that, with those being big rivalries. And I think it's good that this game comes later in the season. I know when they were gearing up for Tennessee, I kind of said the same thing. You know, I'm happy that this isn't a week 3 game or something like that, because clearly we saw the struggles on the road against Texas. Hopefully we can get some of those problems in check for Tennessee. And to an extent, maybe they did, but there were still a lot of mistakes that Alabama made, unforced errors coming from Alabama in that Tennessee game that hopefully they can get straightened out for LSU. Hopefully everyone can kind of be on the same page, be in check, and be ready for LSU, because the noise, of course, is not going to be the only thing that determines this game and that we're going to see. We are seeing LSU play, you know, Saban's the one that said they're playing probably as good as anybody in the country right now. You know, they haven't had the best start to the season necessarily, and they had some struggles. You know, Tennessee comes into their house and blows them out of the water, but then they go to Ole Miss, and beat them by 25. And it's like, which is not something people were necessarily expecting. You've got Jaden Daniels, their quarterback, who's playing incredibly well. He's putting up some really good numbers. I Bleav probably averaging close to what Bryce is. I can't remember their exact numbers off the top of my head, but he's doing really well and everything. So obviously the atmosphere is not the only part that's going to impact this game. LSU is a good ball club and they are playing good football. But I think when you hear Bama LSU and you hear Death Valley, that atmosphere is just like the first thing that everyone thinks of, is how just crazy of a game it's going to be. But I'm interested to see, you know, what obviously you think the actual game is going to look like, looking at these two teams. Again, that Jaden Daniels, he is playing really well. And this is Brian Kelly's first season at LSU.
Right.
But of course he's not familiar to playing in difficult matchups and everything like that coming from Notre Dame. But I
Right.
think a game like this, this is what Brian Kelly came to LSU for. This is what Brian Kelly came to the SEC for. He wants to play Nick Saban during the regular season. He wants to play, Ole Miss, Georgia, whoever it may be, Tennessee. He wants to play all of those tough games during the season. And if he can get his guys on the right page to perform well in those situations, which he is right now, that's exactly why he came here. That's exactly why he left Notre Dame, which everyone was so shocked by. But what do you think? I mean, what have you seen from this LSU team that you think could, pose a problem for Alabama come Saturday, or that you think could just be an interesting development for the game?
After watching them, I think they have some decent pass rushers.
Mm-hmm.
At LSU, man, they play good. They play good, solid coverage. Now the tackling isn't always the best, but they collectively tackle together.
Mm-hmm.
I think being watching them, and they do have some D linemen that actually make plays. I've seen them make plays on our Ole Miss one because Ole Miss was like undefeated at the time. They beat an undefeated Ole Miss team. Now I will say during the quarter of watching that game, Ole Miss was pounding the ball on them. They can run the ball on them now. If you stick to a good solid run game on LSU, you can run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they had kept doing it, I think they would have. Ole Miss could have beat LSU and kept it going. But also, LSU has a good their quarterback. He's a scrambler. He gets out of the pocket, makes plays, he runs. And I will say this. Now, over the years, I watched Alabama. I watch Alabama defense. We have always had issue with scrambling quarterbacks, and I never knew why. I never understood that because it's either how you pass rush or how you try to contain the guy and keep him inside the pocket. You want the guy inside the pocket, so he has to make those tough throws. I think that the game plan, if I'm playing against LSU defensively, I'm trying to keep that quarterback in that pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my game plan for them. And if I am Bama offense, I'm trying to run that ball on them because they couldn't really stop the run. Ole Miss ran the ball all the way down the line of scrimmage. They had a few passes here and there, put a little bit of action, but predominantly they ran the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had a solid day running the ball. Even though they lost, I think they would have stuck to the run game and a little bit of pass here and there. They would have won that game. They would have beat an LSU team, a very good LSU team at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think looking for the future wise, I think Alabama has to run the ball. They have to be able to run the ball this weekend. They have to be able to pass it, not all pass all the time. So they didn't have balance this weekend. They didn't have a good solid balance to win this game.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same as you as far as running the ball, especially like you were saying, looking at that LSU Ole Miss game. I was like, Lane, what are you doing? I was like, what are you doing? Like, keep doing what you're doing, even though he's probably not necessarily calling the plays in that sense. But especially, I think Bryce and the receivers, I think maybe they can get some of the smaller plays done that we need maybe a little bit, kind of like you were saying with Ole Miss, what they should have done, a pass here and there, a throw here and there. But I saw some stat, especially looking at running the ball. I think it was the Alabama LSU, the past two in the series on the road. Bama has outrushed, LSU like 500 something yards to like 100 or something like that. Like It was, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like, it's clearly shown that, LSU has had a hard time stopping the Alabama rush. So I think our guy Jahmyr Gibbs, we've been talking about him. Everyone's been talking about him all season, but I think this could potentially be a game where we hopefully see, but maybe need to see Jahmyr Gibbs really have that breakout game. We're constantly talking about Bryce Young and his numbers coming out of these games. And I think that this could maybe be one that we see Jameer really kind of steal the show and be the star of the show. Because we were even talking about Jameer a lot coming out of the Tennessee game. We were the two people we were talking about most, Bryce and Jameer. And, you know, let's say we talked about Jameer just a little bit more after that Tennessee game, and maybe that would have been a different outcome since it was only a 3-point game. You know, I think this could be a very valuable Jameer Gibbs game, as well as the rest of the offense, of course, helping him with the rush and everything. We could see some good stuff from Chase McClellan as well. But I think the run the dang ball phrase could definitely come into use, I think, this weekend against LSU. Just in general, because we've been saying it all season long that we'd like to see a little bit more of a run game. But I think that that's something that I think Jameer would pose a big threat to this LSU defense, and someone that they might have a little bit of a hard time stopping, which I wouldn't mind. I would not mind to see.
Right. I agree with you. I think he deserves some more touches. I mean, they can run the outside zone. They can run a little bit of power plays. I mean, they did a decent job the other week before running the ball. But I think they really got to emphasize that run to win this ball game. They really gonna have to emphasize that run. I don't care if it's 50-50, 75, 70-30. I don't care. They have to figure out how to run that ball versus that LSU team, that LSU defense. They gotta have to figure it out. Bryce Young's great. He has good receiver, a good solid receiving core. But you got to feed your backs. That's what Alabama has been based on for years. You have to feed your back. You can't get away from something that worked for so many years. And not to say that passing ball is going to be a hard thing to do, because you have a good, decent, solid. I gave them like a B+ offensive line. They're very solid. They execute very well. Watching them block, I mean, they pick up this pretty well, but they got to be more physical. Run game for them, they need to be more physical. And that's what I know. I need to see you pancaking some guys, get them out the hole so you can get your running back some more yards. Because once you wear down a whole defense by running the ball, a little bit of action here and there, that team is going to get tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known from experience, for that fourth quarter program, you've learned to push through even when you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fourth quarter, the game is always won in the fourth quarter. Like I always say, it's not won in the first quarter. It's not won in the second quarter. It's not won in the third quarter. But the game is won in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have to be able to keep that same intensity, keep that foot on top of the pedal and just keep it going. I think they're gonna be solid. I've seen glimpses of the great. I've seen glimpses of that run game. And I also seen a lot more glimpses of the pass game. Now, it's just about these guys executing and finishing the play, finish the plays. Don't give up on the play. If you have a bad play, shake it off, go to the next play. I think that's what it's about for them guys, for those guys on offense and defense. They gotta play their lights out. They almost had a goose egg.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys had a blown assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see one of the guys get on top of his teammates. And, hey, you messed up. We could have a goose egg this game. Now, do I believe this defense is going to go ahead? It's going to go ahead and play hard, play physical. Yes. Now, is LSU going to score points? Of course. I don't see the LSU that can't score points. Now, hopefully they'll pass the 50. But hey, that's just what my thoughts are. You know, because they have the defense have to redeem themselves. Now they have great players on defense. Their front four is great. The secondary is really decent. Now they have a little few penalties here and there, but I mean, overall, they played their tails off. Offensively, you have Bryce Young, great leader. I think he's grown through the season. I think he's maturing. I think he may give you a little bit of grin a little bit if he something's going good, but that's cool. I don't mind a poor player. Now look, you're gonna play at LSU when the sun sets. Now how much poise can you really have?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're gonna let the pressure get to you and you're gonna crumble. And that's what it comes from good players to great players. Now we're gonna see how great he is come this weekend. How great this Alabama offense can execute their plays and things they worked on in practice this week, and how they've grown. So they have to grow. This is the time to grow so they can get into that playoff run right now. This guy here sets the tone for everything.
Mm-hmm. I think Bryce is like one of my favorite people to watch in general while the play is developing, but he's one of my favorite people to watch before the play even starts because of kind of that poise and what he's got going on that you're talking about. I will like never forget last year, the Iron Bowl goes into 4 overtimes, something like crazy that we've never seen before. And my shot of Bryce that I've got before the snap for the touchdown to win in that 4th overtime, I mean, he's just got this grin on his face. Like, he's just got this smile on his face. And I was like, what is that? I was like, that is a dangerous look on his face because he's just ready. He's just ready to go, just having fun playing this football. So he's just got this grin on his face. He does his little kiss up to God, and then the next thing we know, we're running onto the field because Alabama has won in 4 overtimes in the Iron Bowl, and he's just got this stoicness about him, but also just like he looks like he's having fun. Like, and he said before, you know, when I'm in those tight pressure situations, like that's what I live for. Like, that's what I'm excited for. Like, I'm a competitor and I like competing. And I was like, okay, well, you know what, Bryce, my blood pressure does not necessarily live for the same moments as yours, but I can respect you. Like, I can respect that. However, I am stressed. So help me out there. But I think, you know, just looking at this game, it really is, like you were saying, it sets the tone for the rest of the season. You know, with Alabama having that loss to Tennessee, they have no room for error anymore.
Right.
They have no room for error in the West. Even though LSU has 2 losses on this season, they've got the tie for first in the West. So there is no room for error here whatsoever. Especially with LSU having that win over Ole Miss, there's just no padding because, you know, if Alabama goes into Ole Miss, which I know is looking into the future, that's next week and we'll worry about it then. But it's like if Alabama goes into Ole Miss, depending on how that game goes, you know, it doesn't matter anymore since LSU has that game already. So there is no room for error. And I'm sure these guys know that. When they came out of the Tennessee game after losing that, obviously everyone is upset. Obviously, people are not happy with the result. But in the end of the day, Saban said it, you know, other of the players said it as well. We still control our own destiny. We can still achieve all of the goals that we set. Maybe not all of them, because I'm assuming beating Tennessee was a goal. But we can still achieve the goals that we had at the beginning of the season. We can still make it to the SEC championship. And obviously with Alabama, winning a national championship is a goal every single year. They still have the control to be able to do that, but this LSU game is one that obviously controls all of that.
Right.
So when the sun sets in Baton Rouge, isn't the sun going to set kind of early too? Because aren't we like getting ready for daylight savings time? I need to know what time sunset is. I need to know what time sunset is. That's making me nervous. It's going to be nighttime either way. You know, but when the sun sets in Death Valley, there's gonna be a lot on the line. That is for sure. And we need these guys they need to be playing their best game. They need to be making as little errors as possible. You know, the amount of mental mistakes that we saw in that Mississippi State game, the amount of penalties we saw in that Mississippi State game, that is what we need at LSU. And I know that's obviously easier said than done from someone who's never played a football game, let alone played one at night in Death Valley. You know, I'm sure there's going to be a slip up here and there, but you obviously can't go into it with that mindset. You got to go into it with, we're going to be perfect. We're not going to make any mistakes and that kind of stuff, because we saw what happened when you do make some of those mistakes against Tennessee. You know, you give them a little bit of give them a little bit of life with some of those errors that you're making. And most importantly, with this LSU crowd. I mean, we've said it before just about the game in general, but especially with the crowd, like, you cannot let up. Like, you cannot give any people in that stadium room to believe that their team has a chance to win, because they are going to be going crazy no matter what. And if you make that mistake, if you give them that reason to think that LSU is in that game, then maybe we're going to see some more mental errors, or we're going to see, some more missed assignments based on communication and all of that. So I'm ready to see how it unfolds. I'm ready to see what Brian Kelly, brings to go up against Bryce Young and the Alabama program. And I am going to be watching the game and just trying to take it all in from afar. I'm not making the trip to Baton Rouge. I kind of wish that I was, but all at the same time, I feel like I would be like nervous on the sideline the entire time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, shoot, you just be careful if you ever do go out there, because those
Oh
guys
yeah.
are crazy. They will fight you. They'll try to fight you there, especially if you win.
Oh yeah.
They're different.
They're different.
They're a little different out there.
I will say that. Again, some great experiences with some LSU fans, and then some not so much. But I think pretty much every LSU fan knows that. I think pretty much every LSU fan I know is like, yeah, there's some people that are a little rougher around the edges. And I was like, no way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was like, I would say that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. I've met a few. I've met a few.
You're like, I've been through that once or twice.
I've been through it, witnessed it, seen it. Had a fan come at me.
Gosh.
I'm like, you guys suck and all that stuff like that.
You're like, okay.
I mean, all right. Well, how many rings y'all got? I mean,
I was like, noted. Roger that.
Yeah,
Goodness gracious.
No, but honestly, I am really looking forward to this game. Looking forward to this game. I can't wait to see Bryce Young and this whole offense take off, and hopefully have a good solid run game. I'm also looking forward to this defense to get a goose egg. Hopefully, it's possible. I'm really rooting for them to get one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hopefully they don't score. Hopefully LSU don't score at all. But once again, I mean, you can't go on the estimate an LSU team. I mean, I've seen what those guys do. They have athletes. They have a good little quarterback. I mean, he scrambles pretty well. But we just have to go there and just execute. I know Coach Saban, I always say execution fuels emotion. So I hope those guys have that type of mentality. Go out there and don't be denied. That's the most part. That's the most thing they should think about. Don't be denied every opportunity to go out there and play hard for your teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're playing for the teammates. They're playing for their families, and they're playing for their future. And someone gonna play at that next level. Someone won't. Someone will be in school. So we just hope every one of them plays their heart out. And that's what matters to me. That team playing their heart out. They're giving their all, and they go there and shoot. Forget it. Have fun. That's what it's about. It's about having fun. It's not about us. It's about them having fun. They're playing a game that they play since childhood.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about for me. Watching them play that game the way they love it.
I think that's so important for people to remember too. I think it's difficult, especially now, the way that the playoff is structured.
Right.
Someone who works in the media here in Huntsville, we were talking after the Texas A&M game, and he was like, what sucks about the way the playoff is structured, Olivia, is Alabama fans cannot enjoy the competitiveness that was that Texas A&M game, because even though you guys won, the way that it is and everything, that could bump you guys down in the rankings since it was a close game and maybe Georgia blows someone out or whatever. Even though you guys won, it's like that's like such an exciting football game that you guys cannot enjoy. Like same with
Right.
Tennessee. It's like in the NFL, if you have an incredibly close game like that in week 6, you've still got so much of the season left. You got so much that you can look forward to. So, of course you want to win, but in the end of the day, you can respect the competition you just saw between these two teams. After that Tennessee game, or even the Texas A&M game where we won, you can't even look at it that way because you're nervous about what's this going to do to the playoff rankings and what's this going to do here and there and everything. So it really is just it is a game in the end of the day, but of course we want to see national championships, we want to see SEC championships and all of that. But I saw a video that a sports reporter from Mississippi, she didn't make it. She saw it on TikTok and posted it, but it's someone at Mississippi State, one of the, I think maybe academic advisors or something like that. She kind of took a video of a bunch of the Mississippi State players asking like, what's something you want people to remember about you guys, like, or when they're giving you guys negative feedback or whatever. And they're all just saying the same thing. Like, just remember, like, we're people too. Like, we are people. Like, we're a bunch of, because we said this, I think a while ago, this is a bunch of 18 to like 22, 23-year-old kids playing a football game. We're people too. Like, and you've said it time and time again because you've been through it, but everyone that pays enough attention to Alabama football, LSU football, whatever, they know that, these guys, they are giving it their all week. They are going to practice. They are going to film. They are somehow doing their homework so they can be eligible to play. They are, they are doing as much as they can to prepare for these games. So of course, when they go out there and don't have their best game, they're the person who's most upset about it because, look at all that work we put in and then you're not going to have your best game. So like, I promise you, like they know in the back of their heads, if they didn't play their best game, they don't need everyone and their mother necessarily screaming at them and telling them that, because they're people too. Like, would you want someone coming in and saying that to you, saying that you suck and you don't know how to do this and that, just because, you as a fan want your team to win a national or an SEC or whatever championship? It's like, just remember, like, they're people too. And like, they're a bunch of kids just having fun playing a football game. Like, you guys, anyone who plays football at the University of Alabama, you're competitors and you love to compete. And when you're a good competitor, you want to play against the best competition and the best teams. And that's something that we're going to see in Death Valley this Saturday. You're going to see two of the top teams in the SEC going against each other with a lot on the line. And it's nerve-wracking, and it's a lot for, I'm sure, the players to think about, as well as the fans and everything like that. But in the end of the day, I mean, I think it's going to be a good football game, and I'm excited to see it for sure.
I mean, I am too. I think you're spot on. You're spot on with what you're saying. Like, you're very spot on. Looking at it from a player perspective, that's really how we feel sometimes. Yeah. I would say I feel sometimes. I think that's probably 100% of the time of how we actually feel. Now, some of us, we don't care about that. But I say 100% of the time, I say 80% of the time, that's really how majority of the kids feel.
Yeah.
They have those high expectations. Somebody, if that was your kid out there playing football, someone said something about it, you might as well chuck them out.
Yes.
I'm just being honest. It happens at the little league football games. I see.
Yes.
Those parents want to go out there and choke coaches out. But I mean, that's reality. That's how it is. You sign up to play a sport, you can't complain about it, right? You don't get paid to play about it. You don't. You don't play to get to worry about what the media says. You play because you love doing what you're doing. And the only way you can love doing what you're doing is just to get better at your position. And that's kind of how I look at it. Get better at your position, get better at your assignment, get better, stronger mentally. I think that's most important. Mentally, the mental game is more important than everything else. The football will take care of itself, but your mental got to be strong.
Well, hopefully the guys, took the bye week to get their mental game stronger, to work on everything that they needed to on the practice field. And hopefully they're going in to Death Valley ready to go and ready to play a sure to be competitive football game. Obviously, we're both hoping for Alabama to come out on top in this one. What are we thinking score prediction wise for this weekend?
Let me let you go first this time.
Okay. I see you. I'm gonna say realistically, because I know everyone wants that shutout from the defense, of course, especially coming off that Mississippi State game. I think this LSU offense, I think they'll find the end zone one way or the other. I am gonna go. I know Alabama is favored, I think by 2 touchdowns or something like that, which I think it's gonna be a fairly close game. I think maybe it's one of those Alabama pulls away a little bit later. You were saying, I think their defense is gonna get tired and that kind of stuff and everything, and it's won in the fourth quarter, like you were saying. So I could see it being close for a little while and Alabama pulling away. I will go 36-24 Alabama.
Okay.
It's like you had your time to think. You had your time to collect your thoughts.
Okay. I think if I had a choice, I think it's gonna be a 21-28 game. 28-28 ball game.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a great competition. I watched LSU play. I watched Bama play. I watched those two guys play, and the way I see, they're not too far off from each other.
Yeah.
Just by watching them and the way they each of them play, is it gonna be a close game? Like you said, I think it's gonna be a close game. Who knows? It could come down to a field goal. I hope not. But the way these two teams play is so different. I just look at it from that perspective. They're competitive. They are going to compete. They're going to be ready for this game. LSU going to be ready for this game. Bama definitely going to be ready for the game because they had time to prepare for this game. All the ins and outs of the game. I think that it's going to come down to inches and yards and a first down here or there, a 2 minute clock going down the field. I just see this game's going to be a close game. I think 21-28 is going to be a fair game for me. That's kind of my prediction.
I like it. Well, of course, we'll have to wait and see how everything pans out. We've got a 6 o'clock kick, because we can't say it enough, a night game in Death Valley, 6 o'clock kick for Alabama on Saturday. And of course, then we'll come back next week and see what Alabama was able to do. We can talk about the Alabama LSU game, and then of course getting right back to the practice field, getting ready for a tough meeting against Ole Miss the week after that. So very excited to see the game this week. I have the Saturday off, so I'm very excited to watch a lot of football. We've got the Tennessee-Georgia game that I'm looking forward to watching because, not only is that going to be an incredible game in general, but what happens in that game can have a lot of implications for what happens to Alabama later this season. So Tennessee, Georgia, and then I'm just going to flip my channel right on over to Alabama, LSU, and hopefully we can see the Tide roll to another victory in Death Valley.
Okay. Fair enough. I guess I will have to join in on that game too.
Yes, you gotta watch Tennessee, Georgia. You gotta watch it.
That's gonna be a good game, especially over there because they have Kirby Smart at Georgia. Yeah, Kirby's a good. He's a great coach. He's very solid. I've been there when he was there. He was there in 09 to 13. So yeah, real solid coach, real smart, and they execute really well. So yeah, I have to tune in for that game. Definitely tune in for that game.
Tune in for that game, and then of course Alabama LSU 6 o'clock kick on ESPN ? I Bleav. I just know that the Tennessee game is on CBS because that's my channel. That's all I know.
Well,
it is ESPN because I was watching something. The Alabama A&M game was on ESPNU last night, and they were talking about the ESPN slate for Saturday. So it is ESPN at 6 o'clock on Saturday. So you go from CBS, click over to ESPN. You got your Saturday covered.
Right. Well, then I'll have 2 TVs then because
gotta have the double screen.
I don't miss nothing.
Yes, yes. Got to have the double screens ready to go. And then we will, of course, bring it back to Bleav in Bama afterwards, after the game, and we'll talk about it all next week. But hopefully we can see the Tide roll against the LSU Tigers. So I'm excited about it.
All right. Well,
All right.
roll Tide, roll Tide.
As always, roll Tide. Can the other DJ in the background say a roll Tide or no?
No. Can you say roll Tide, DJ? I'm just
Oh my God.
wondering.
Roll
Yeah,
Tide, man. Roll Tide.